Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters Encounters video. I thought I would mix another one of these in here while I'm continuing to wrap up your mysteries and disappearances suggestions. This one has to do with yet another scary set of encounters associated with skinwalkers. Haven't talked about these in a little while, so I thought I would mix this one in here. Once again, it comes from the reddit.com website. They're from the subreddit Skinwalkers, and it has to do with a strange set of encounters that this user had at their grandparents' house. This was a house that was basically in the middle of nowhere, and it's almost like these grandparents or someone else was interacting with the skinwalkers, or they were in turn but basically looking like the grandparents. You know how there's this shape-shifting aspects associated with them. But it comes from the user called I Love Larry 17, and they aptly titled theirs as opinions, like in a question mark. So let's go ahead and let's share their encounter here. I'd love to hear what your thoughts and comments are, and then I'll give my own on it afterward. So here's what they stated. I am at my grandparents' house in the middle of nowhere. It is very rural, and me and my cousin keep experiencing weird things that we think might be related to a skinwalker. I have a basic understanding of skinwalkers, but figured that asking a community would be the best thing for advice and insight. Strange things have been happening, and there has always been an eerie feeling up here. To start, there is a motion sensor light by one of the sheds on the property, and that's been going off at night, late at night, without anything being there, and then also some weird noises. At first we thought it was a coincidence, but then it kept happening, always around 11 to 11:30 p.m. at night. Again, another time, my cousin and I were sitting on a van, and we looked over, and my quote-unquote grandfather was looking at us, but just with a dead-eyed stare. He didn't say anything, he just stared for about 45 seconds, which was unusual and out of character. Then, after he walked away, a few minutes later, we went to go inside, and we ran into him again. And he was walking out of the house and said, I was just about to come find you guys, implying that he didn't see us, but very clearly we had seen him. I'd even waved at him, and he just walked away. My cousin has been seeing and hearing things that aren't there, and we just aren't sure if we are idiots or if something does seem off to anyone else here too. And so after making the stupid decision to sit in my grandpa's shop with my cousin, we wanted to watch from afar to see if this light would go on. After setting up, I noticed a large amount of owls that I was hearing, and that's in this area, Idaho. The amount of owls that I could hear here was unnatural. It's a setting that I looked at some of the different stuff on Skinwalkers, and I discovered that they commonly show up as foxes, wolves, coyotes, crows, and owls. And we kept hearing a really weird barking noise that didn't really sound like a dog. Now my mom came out to check on us, and she stopped in her tracks because she said she thought she heard something weird. My mom is not easily fazed, but she stopped dead where she was, and she shined her flashlight to where she thought she heard something. And my cousin and I just looked at each other because my mom wouldn't believe us if we told her what we thought was really going on. And so she ended up leaving, and we walked with her to a smaller shed room where some batteries are kept because we needed them. And my mom slowed down and ended up far behind us. And so we ended up in the shed, and we didn't see her, but we could hear her talking. And it was obvious that we weren't there because she would have seen us. And so we freaked out but continued looking for batteries. Now I watched my quote-unquote mom go to the door and open the screen, but I closed the shed door before I saw her actually go into the house. I'm not sure if it is totally true, but I heard that skinwalkers can't go inside homes without being invited. And so by the time we left the shed, she was gone, and we just assumed she went inside, but it is still kind of weird. And so we then walked back, and we started off walking, but then we heard the strange, unsettling bark again. and it wouldn't stop. So we ran back inside the shop, and now it stopped. I also heard that when skinwalkers are around, they leave a very foul stench. In Idaho, there are always a lot of dairies, and I'm used to it. They smell, but recently I have been smelling the most god-awful smells, and I just assumed it was the dairy, even though I have never smelled dairy like that, so I'm not sure if it could have been the skinwalkers, but I think it was. To mention the setup of the shop, it is a fairly large building that has lights and a bunch of outlets for various tools and a TV. We had the TV on, and the lights take a few seconds to fully turn on. And when you turned them on, when you turned them on, my cousin and I wanted to see what it would look like with the lights off. And so we turned off the two switches for the lights. The TV stayed on as intended, and I went to turn the lights back on, but now they wouldn't even light up a little like they usually do. Then out of nowhere, the TV shut off, just completely off, like something happened to the switch in the box that made everything turn on and off. There were no random or extra switches that were touched, so it was not coming from the inside. There is, however, a breaker box that contains switches for inside the shop, but it's on the outside. I didn't want to alarm my cousin more than she already was scared, so I kept it to myself. And so I turned on some light music as to not sit in complete silence and wait to hear something that we didn't want to. As the music was playing, sure enough, I kept hearing a heavy thumping and weird noises, but I just turned up the music so that my cousin wouldn't hear them. And so we ended up making it back inside the house, but this night will go down in my brain as one time I have been truly terrified. Again, not 100% sure that this is a Skinwalker incident, but thought that I could get some feedback. Thanks. And then that's it. That's everything that the user I love Larry 17 mentioned within their entry. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. Lots of unusual, strange, almost Twilight Zone encounters, right? I mean, when I was reading this information, it almost felt like a movie was playing out, like with regards to the almost eerie sensation of it looks normal, but it doesn't at the same time. It's almost like a John Carpenter film. If you've seen some of his famous works, you realize that it looks like a regular setting, but you realize also that something is just a little bit off. Kind of like in The Mouth of Madness is a good example there. So yes, this happened there at the grandparents' house in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in Idaho. Someone would have to let me know, is Idaho also like prime Skinwalker country out there? If so, please post it in the comments. But interestingly enough, this is one of the few rare situations where this user didn't quite necessarily see a skinwalker per se. Like, in other words, they didn't see the usual sign, like involving, let's say, a wolf-like creature, coyote-like creature, something hunched over, something with long, skinny arms, or a hide, or eyes, and so on. No, the closest may have been something imitating their grandparents. They stated, I'm sorry, their grandparent on one point and then their mother at another point. They stated that there was that one situation with the grandparent just staring at them while they were inside of a van, and the grandparent or the grandfather was outside. And so they realized that maybe it was the grandfather, but most likely it wasn't, because obviously when they went inside, or before they went inside the house, that's when the grandfather, the real grandfather, came out and told them he was trying to find them. But if that was the case, didn't he just see them just minutes ago, right? And then the other situation, same thing with the mom. It's almost like something was imitating the mother as soon as the mother went out of sight. So there they were going into that shop, into that shed, and then once they were out of sight and the mother was elsewhere, it's almost like this was an opportunity for that skinwalker to just basically imitate the mother. Who knows where the mother was at that point, probably inside the house itself. But there they were watching something almost imitate her as she tried to go inside the house as well. Like this thing, whatever it was that was imitating her, tried to go inside the house where the real mother was. Pretty freaky again, pretty freaky stuff. This is the kind of stuff that doesn't seem eerie at first, but the more you think about it, it is, because who knows if someone goes around the corner and then you read them again, quote unquote, is that really them? Is that somebody that is just imitating them, obviously trying to do something to you at the last resort if you end up falling for their trick? Scary stuff. And so having this type of experience for this user, the way they mentioned it as it being a night that'll go down in the brain as being truly terrified. Absolutely so. But let me know what you guys think. Again, a unique encounter. They never ever really saw a true skinwalker, but they may have seen something imitating their parents. Maybe it's an even other different category altogether. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.